Hello everyone, and as you may have noticed, I've changed a few things around. I've now got the camera up here, which actually looks quite cool, and of course got my SM58 mic right here. And I'm wearing a Soma t-shirt, so that was pretty good. Anyway, last week we covered compression in Ableton, but for people who don't know how to use Ableton, can only use FL Studio, well, may as well cover both. So basically, I've just started up FL. I've loaded in a synth loop from Vengeance Dirty Electro Volume 3, and it sounds like this. So, as you can see, it's filtering up here and then just going into the cut off all the frequencies. So, this is a good thing to test the compression because, as you can see, the signal's low and then it's getting higher, louder and louder, and then you can actually see what compression does. So double click in this and you can see number 10 here. I'm routing it to channel number 10 on the mixer. I started up the patch and it had the fruity limiter on, but I've just pressed that green button there to deactivate that to make sure nothing's happening. Don't know why I put on the parametric EQ, that's just threw that on there. So anyway, compression. Now there's a few ways you can do compression in FL. I'm just going to go with the fruit compressor right now. Now it doesn't really look that nice, to be honest. It's just a pretty basic looking compressor, but that's good. It's low on CPU memory. So if you remember watching last week's tutorial, I advise you do that because then you'll get to know. I mean, Ableton's is a lot more nicer to look at, and you can actually see what's going on. But you've still got the signal meter to look at here on the mixer. So if you mess around with anything of these, nothing's actually going to happen because the ratio is set to 1. So say if we set that to 6 to 1, then when you start messing around with the threshold, you actually hear something happening to the signal. So we'll do that. So the more I bring down the threshold, the more the signal is getting pushed down. So there we go, I'm just going to loop this section. Now what that actually is doing is you're getting the thresholds, you're basically pushing the signal right down, you're in a way compressing. So you're doing this to try and get everything, it's basically like limiting the signal, try to get all those peaks down and squash them together. But this is all dependent on the attack and release time. So if you really listen, you can hear a slight click, and that's because the compressor is taking 15 milliseconds to act. So you're getting this large transient, then the compressor is acting, so you're getting this click. So try and listen, and I'll make that more. There, you can hear it a lot now. If I bring the threshold right down, so you can just hear this. Now, dependent on if that's exactly what you want, then you would turn up the gain. So this is your makeup gain. So if you look at the signal without anything, it's up at -2 here. So maybe you want to match that. So bring the threshold right down. Now that is quite extreme, but so that sounds quite plucky now, as opposed to just a straight sort of lead, just going duh. You've got this duh 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 sound, and then of course the release. Do you want it to be extremely plucky? Or it can have a long release time. So imagine that decaying. Sounds a lot like the original, but with everything a lot more compressed. So you could hear that boom right at the start. And then you've got the type of compression. So your hard is a bit like, you know, a brick wall, boom. Or you can have it soft, which is, it won't be as noticeable as much, but that's dependent on the threshold here. So there we've got quite a plucky sound, but so you're getting this transient right at the start going to, and then the sort of lead sound as opposed to just being a standard da da da. You've got this punch, and then if that makes sense, you'll be able to hear it. So it's all about experimenting. So then you could bring the attack right down. Still getting a slight pluck. But you can actually hear the reverb in the background as well because you're compressing the signal, but then also expanding it. You're bringing up all the little small artifacts which you might have not heard before. So you need to watch, if say you record like this microphone for example, I've got the fan running in my laptop, I've got my PS3 down here, which the fan in that sometimes can be quite loud, so you can get all this noise in the background. So if you're compressing something from a microphone, like if you've got a gain on a mic preamp and you turn it right up, all you're going to hear is shh. So in a way, if you turn that down but then really compress the signal, you're going to hear the noise in the background really. So you need to be really careful with compression. There's no point in, like, this is all good if you're working on an individual sound, but if you're trying to mix on your master channel using these kind of settings, it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, you're not going to need this amount of gain and putting the threshold right down here. So that's using. So this method really is using it as a creative process, whereas if you're actually wanting to just tame the transients and not have a big peak where you don't want it in terms of recording, like for example, if I bring this right up, like as you can see right here, you've got these little transients coming out. If you want to basically just tame them down, then let's reset that gain. We'd have a fast attack time. You don't want it at 0 milliseconds because that will cause some sort of clicks, digital sort of artifacts which you don't want. So maybe and have it. Well, you just need to experiment with these really, these types. Maybe put it hard if you're working on transients, but then bring down the threshold a little bit. Judging by the fader level there doesn't really seem to be anything that's, coming straight out. So that works fine for me, to be honest. That works perfectly fine. In fact, okay, let's see. One thing that we can sort out, which I didn't cover in the last Ableton tutorial because I wanted to save it for this, sidechaining, which is using something as a trigger to push the signal down. So I'll quickly draw out here. Oh, nope. There we go. So there I've drawn out a kick pattern, and to quickly do that I right clicked and pressed fill each 4 steps. Typical kick that you get with FL Studio. Going into channel 1, and instead of using, there's many ways to do this, but I'm going to do it the easiest way I know. Use Fruity Limiter, and there you've got the method of compression on it. So this is also another way to compress, and you've got your visual element this time, but I did the non-visual, so you actually know exactly what is happening. So there, that you can actually see now what is getting compressed. So that's extreme compression, that's ridiculous. But, so you can mess around with this. I suggest Fruity Limiter as a great compression, because use of compression, because you can actually see what's happening, much like in Ableton when you see the waveform display. It's great to actually know what's happening. You've got the gain here, you've got your attack, release, you've also got a look ahead here, which is all down to preference. Knee is again just a slight little, as you can see, you can actually see it happening here, just kind of how hard or soft you want the compressor to act. But in the case of this, I'm actually going to use it as a sidechain. So let me see if, okay, yeah. So you're wanting channel 1, which is the kick, to be the sidechain for channel 10. So you right click here, sidechain to this track. There you go. So you're sending the kick to channel 10, but so that would be at full. You're sending it full, but it's 0 because you don't actually want to hear the kick in channel 10. You're just sending the signal in a way to the compressor. There you go. Put that up, and so now see these little bits here. That's actually the kick channel coming in. Now I'll put that right up. Nothing. Now, as I bring this down, you'll actually notice to hear a pumping sound, which is when the kick is hitting. So it's going to. This lead sound will actually be coming down relative to the attack and release times. So I'll just play it. So what you're actually seeing there is when the kick is hitting, that's actually compressing when the lead is coming in. So it's going. So when the kick, it's going, bringing down the lead. So it's going, doing that, as you can see. And I'll mess with the attack and release, and you'll be able to hear it a lot more. And if you can't really hear that, well, we should. But this is very useful for bass lines, because if you've got a kick and a bass line playing and they're playing around the same frequencies, then you don't want them interfering. So if you've got the kick and the bass line, then that in a way separates them. So you've got kick and bass, so they've got their own separate space within the frequency spectrum. Sorry. Well, anyway, yeah. Yeah, they've got their own individual space. So the kick plays and then the bass plays. So you're bringing down the bass. You've got the bass here and the kick. So you're kind of pushing down the bass, but not getting rid of it fully, because you can do it exactly determined on the attack and release times. So if you've got a short kick and a long bass line, then you would have a short attack, or quick attack, and a short release to get that bass right up. Or if you've got a massive kick, then again quick quick attack, but maybe put the release out a little bit more. So you just don't want them interfering. And it's also quite a lot of things with sidechain that it gets like a really kind of, because you've got the bass coming in the offbeat, it's a bit like these Melbourne bounce EDM tracks. You've got the kick and then the sort of bass coming in offbeat, so it's like do 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 do. So it's kind of got the groove going, I guess. But yeah, pretty much just try and learn using you knowing exactly what these buttons do, and then you can start moving on to the fruity limiter. But apart from that, then I think that's all the only compression that I would use within um, FL Studio. But then, of course, you can, like I did last in the Ableton one, you can start moving on to compressors like this, which are based on analog gear. And but yet again, they've got the same attack release, you've got a ratio. You've even got a little high pass filter here. You can use it if you want. But the glue, I would more put that in the master. So let's shove it on the note. And then I would use my makeup gain, so you can see that's 5 there, so that would correspond to 5 decibels. Pretty simple stuff, really. But yeah, if any of you, excuse my awful English, have any questions, then feel free to hit up in the comments, and I'll definitely do my best to get back to you. And also, if you want tutorials on anything else, just go ahead in the comments or post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Prewave podcast. And yeah, see you next week.